Welcome to the Last Safe Space Music Venue Trust's regular podcast with all our data, our latest information, news from the grassroots sector. I'm here. This is episode number 5, where it's got a little bit of Toni in your life and a little bit of Mark here with your thing. That's such an obscure reference. It's going to go right over people's heads.
I'm not sure this is the great intro that we were hoping for.
I should have been allowed to do podcast number 6, so that I could have said it was 666, the number of the podcast, but too late. I'm doing number 5.
You are.
Yeah. What's up, Toni?
So here's what's coming up this week. The House of Lords debates the Agent of Change Amendment, business rates and why the current system still fails venues, and our new approach to investment: do not fund problems, fix them. This week's crisis and rights management court cases and campaign wins, and the latest on Supporter Circle. So we're kicking off with Agent of Change, which we have spoken about before. But this week, the House of Lords debated an amendment to the Planning and Infrastructure Bill that will have put the Agent of Change principle into law. So despite powerful speeches, the government have declined to support it. Tell me what is up.
Yeah, look, so I think this is almost now the longest running campaign there is in all of our work. Mm-hmm. In 2015, well, late 2014, we first became aware of something called Agent of Change. And it was a policy coming out of Australia, which basically said, whoever is the agent of change, whoever causes a change in an area or a location or a neighborhood or a town or a city, should be responsible for the changes they are making. And in planning, law, and, wherever else, what that essentially means is, let's do it the other way around for a change. If you want to open a music venue, it should be your responsibility to make sure that the noise your music venue is going to make isn't going to cause disturbance to residents. That's easy to understand because actually that's what happens anyway. I mean, you're just not allowed to open a music venue that might cause local residents to hear noise. I mean, you'd be closed down really quickly. What hasn't really happened is the reverse of that, which is if you want to build apartments next to a music venue, you are the agent of change and you should be responsible as the developer or the planner or the local authority, whoever it is. You should you should make sure that your development does not cause problems for the music venue that's already there. It's about recognizing the infrastructure of an area, the soundscape, the noise of an area, but it can also apply to things like smells and general disruption. So the principle that came out of Australia was this one, Agent of Change, and I was the first person to say it in a political context in the UK around music venues, not entirely, but I stole that from Australia, and it came out of their campaign to stop their music venues closing down. So in around about 2016-17, there was a big campaign led by us, supported by other parties like UK Music, and there was a bill brought forward by an MP called General Speller to bring Agent of Change into planning law. And at that time, the government at the time responded saying, can't really do that, but we could put it in the National Policy Planning Policy Framework, which is quite a boring document. But in the end, paragraph 179, this is what it's like working on this stuff, of that document in 2017, I think, when it was adopted, that contained the first ever provision in the National Planning Policy Framework that if you build next door to a music venue, you are responsible to make sure that the music venue doesn't have to adapt to the fact there's now residences next to it. You have to do that with soundproofing and triple glazed windows and egress and ingress and changing, just making sure everything's controlled. Scotland then made it legislation. And really, ever since then, our fantastic team here, the venue support team, have used the fact that it's in the National Planning Policy Framework to object to planning applications. Now, this is quite a boring topic, really, but it's absolutely
paramount,
essential to the work. And more venues get closed by development and these kind of problems than anything else. More venues are placed in trouble because of the noise impacts on new residents or whatever than anything else. So previously, when we talked about this, it was about the government talking about perhaps bringing Agent of Change into licensing, which would be amazing and would finally end that incredible. Have you seen that meme about Norman Tebbit has moved in next door to a music venue and has just written his first. We've been posting that for 10 years. And the government's moved
content.
Yeah, we need more content. We should redesign, give him a new name, because of course Norman Tebbit is no longer with us. So
that's how long it's been going.
That's how long it's been going. So look, we that licensing bit is an advance, and it would be interesting, although there are some doubts about how it would work. Meanwhile, there is the planning and infrastructure bill is going through Parliament, where it still isn't being put into planning law. Now, let's be really clear. The reason it should be in planning law is because every year our fantastic team, venue support team, writes dozens of planning objections, and they're really good at their job.
98% success rate.
98% success rate, bit of data. They're really good at it, but the process is stupid. So basically what happens is the developer has a financial incentive to try and make their developments cheap as possible. It's just obvious. And that wouldn't have triple glazed windows, and it wouldn't have special lock. It wouldn't have any of that stuff. So basically, they try and do that. That's the first planning application. So we object to that, and that one gets rejected. Then they put another one where they pretend to do a noise assessment, and we object to that one, and that one gets thing. Then they do it a third time where they do a bit about it, but they still don't do the mitigation. So we reject to that one, and that one gets. This is slowing the planning process up in a way that's completely ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I think we did mention before, every music venue would love to have 2,000 students move into their location, their locality, if those students can get a good night's sleep. And they don't want them to move there if they can't do that. That's just really obvious. The government keeps saying they want the planning process speeded up. This is the way to speed it up. Put it in legislation. It's really obvious that everybody who deals with it on the ground. Unfortunately, developers are whispering in the ear of the government about there might be legal cases and there might be this and that. But they're doing that to see whether they can get away with planning application number one. And let's be nice about developers for a change. Not all developers are doing this. Some of them are looking at the National Planning Policy Framework and saying, great, we should do this work. Others of them, frankly, aren't really, and this sounds weird, but they're not actually planning to build the houses or the flats. They're planning to make their land more valuable. And if they can get away with a simple planning application where they don't have to do anything about the music venue being there, then that makes the land even more valuable. So there's a huge incentive to do this. And then once they get the planning application, they immediately sell the land with that planning permission. And then the next person in doesn't even know there's a music venue there.
Wow.
So it's the whole process is stupid. Well, can't say crooks. People who are very good at analysing what are the weak points of the process and how to exploit those.
That sounds like a crook to me.
Well, obviously, I'm going to say that's not criminal and it's not crooked. It's
True.
it's not very wise. Okay, what it means is that in 5-10 years' time, a resident has moved into a property that's badly built, really, for where it is, and they have to live with the noise and everything, or the music.
It's not very responsible.
It's not very responsible. It's a much more reason, and I do understand why people try and do it, and I do understand it. But the point is, the government just needs to realise the way to stop this happening is to put it in legislation. So it went into the House of Lords, didn't get into the parliamentary debate. Caroline Dinenage tried to do that. It went into the House of Lords. Another amendment was proposed because so many MPs and Lords understand this. But unfortunately, again, the government said, well, there may be legal cases, which is what they're being told by developers. So eventually that amendment had to be dropped. So now it's going back to Parliament, where we will try again to get the government to understand this is just really obvious stuff. Don't build crappy, badly noise-insulated apartments next to music venues, and then people can live there. And if for any reason you have to work with the venue, whatever, then build soundproofing in the venue. There's plenty of ways to do this. It's a really stupid process. I have a legal friend who always tells me the law should be common sense. This is the opposite of common sense.
I'm going to say some really fancy names now. I say Baroness McIntosh.
Very good.
The Earl of Clancarty.
Clancarty, very good.
Thank you.
This is like a
Foster.
test.
Lord Foster, that's fine.
That one's easy.
And Baroness Scott, you're all very fancy.
Yeah.
All spoke up in support of Agent of Change.
And we did the thing about the Adam Thompson MP who actually commented on one of our podcasts saying, yes, I would go crowd surfing. That's a date, Adam. You and me are going crowd surfing sometime. I'd like to take Lord Foster with me. And honestly...
And Clancarty.
People would be surprised realised how well understood the importance of live music in our community and the importance of grassroots music venues actually is in Parliament. And it's not one political party and it's not one viewpoint. It's really generally shared. You can have really good conversations with pretty much everybody in Parliament who, even if they don't politically agree with you, understand that actually we shouldn't be losing music from our communities for badly built apartments built in the wrong place with the wrong structures, when in fact we can build great housing that people want to live in. You can build an apartment right on top of a music venue if you want to. I mean, it costs a lot of money to do it, but you can certainly build next to it. So why are we building bad apartment or bad accommodation, trying to exploit a poor planning framework when in fact we could just legislate it and they would all be good?
And just to wrap up this segment, we just want to say a big thank you to the Lords that spoke up, and we'll obviously keep pressing. As Mark says, this isn't just cultural common sense. It's also the fastest way to build housing without destroying venues in the process.
That's it. Honestly, the government keeps saying they want a faster planning process. Well, let us get one then. We all agree. It's just they keep being told that it wouldn't be by legislation, and it is by legislation. That's the really simple way to do it.
We're ready to talk about it when you are.
Yeah, no more complaints from people who built a house on farmland that they can hear sheep.
You love that analogy.
Well, it's because it's a real case and it's really stupid.
It is. Okay, so moving on to our next segment, which is about business rates. Another really fun one.
It's all the deep stuff this week.
I know. It was fun last time when we were talking about artists. This time we're talking business rates. So the government has published its business rates interim report. It summarises consultation feedback, but it does not solve the problem. So our position hasn't changed since 2015, has it?
No, again, I mean, this is how long you have to campaign for things on. Look, I mean, this is actually... Weirdly, it does open up a kind of like interesting point for people who watch these things. We are obviously obsessed by music venues, but you'd be surprised how often something we are talking about within a music venue is literally the point of a sword that is the cutting edge of what's happening everywhere. Okay, so with music venues, really this comes down to what gets termed clicks versus bricks. Okay, and that's conversation that's been going on for at least 10 years that I know about, probably longer than that. Within the UK, we tax people for conducting their business in a physical premises much more highly than we charge people for conducting their business in a digital space. So there's virtually no taxes on digital like music. You can watch music online and it's really low taxation. If you want to go and watch music in a music venue, you've got VAT on your ticket at 20% to start with, and you've got the venue is paying business rates. So of course we're kind of pushing the digital economy at people while everybody's saying, oh my God, people don't meet each other anymore and the physical economy is dying. Well, of course it's dying because we massively overtax it. Like Amazon, right? Let's have a go at Amazon. Why not? We haven't attacked Amazon delivery. Nothing to do with Amazon Music. Actually, they're really, really nice people. They're great. Okay, but Amazon deliveries, they don't go on the roads, do they? Or do they use the same roads as everybody else has to pay for with their business rates? Because Amazon warehouses are parked way outside towns, paying incredibly low business rates and quite often having their business rates written off by local councils who think they create jobs. Meanwhile, in a city centre, you've got a venue, I will name, the Underworld in Camden, like one of the most iconic rock venues in the country, has a rateable value over £500,000. In this particular round of the business rate review, wait for it, the government has failed to understand this clicks versus bricks argument, has gone off down a tangent about, rebalancing the business rates thing, and their proposal genuinely is, at the moment, that a place like the Underworld may end up paying twice or three times as much as they're currently paying to try and lower the business rates of the ones that are under £500,000. And even then, they won't be lowering them as much as they were already lowered by previous conversations like this. The last person who had this conversation sensibly, believe it or not, was Rishi Sunak, when he was Chancellor of the Exchequer in 2019, when he, recognising the business rates on music venues was a major obstacle to them being financially viable, provided a special 50% rate relief exclusively for grassroots music venues. Grassroots music venues are now paying more than they were in 2019 because the rate relief is now lower than it was then because they've been lumped in with everybody else. That's one part of the problem. The other part of the problem is there's genuinely no work at all being done on what actually happens in a music venue to rate what it should be paying in business rates. They're rated as entirely other businesses. So we both know the hours you can be open as a music venue start at about 7 o'clock, maybe 8 o'clock. And if you're only running a live music night, they're finished by 11.
Yeah.
Okay. They're charged as though they're open 24 hours a day.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's crazy. The dressing room gets included in the rateable value, as though you can serve beer to people in the dressing room rather than be giving it to bands for free. The stage area gets charged as though you can sell beer on the stage area, which of course you can't. The mosh pit gets charged as though you can send somebody with one of those things you see at festivals into the mosh pit to try and serve pints of beer there. It's not a trading area. Why is everything being... So there are massive problems, and I'm sorry for rambling on about it, but look, it needs a proper review. The whole business rate system should be being reviewed on this clicks versus bricks thing and rebalancing the economy so that everybody is equally taxed. And once that's done, grassroots music venues then need reassessing. If you want my honest view, why on earth would you tax research and development in music on our high streets when the whole government agenda is about growing new talent, research and development, bringing forward new projects, and re-energising the high street? It's a completely counterintuitive tax. It's nearly as bad as the VAT on tickets, or maybe even worse. It's pretty top. You don't pay.
Soundbite.
You don't pay on profit. You pay just because you want to be open, and you pay whether you're open or not. How stupid a tax system is that?
I mean, the whole system is riddled with inaccuracies and bad frameworks. And if you want to grow from the creative industries and stronger high streets, a blunt tax on occupation that ignores viability and purpose is counterproductive.
See, you can cut all of that ramble I did before and just read that bit out.
Okay, I shall. Moving on to something a little bit nicer. I'm going to talk to you about partnerships with Fred Perry and Yamaha. So on the partnership side, Fred Perry launched their Camden Calling exhibition with the Museum of Youth Culture and invited MVT along for the opening, which is cool.
I'm obviously fashion-wise tied to Fred Perry. Frank Perry? Frank Perry's his brother who makes the boots. Fred Perry, I mean, look, they've been fantastic for us. They've been fantastic supporters of music. Even before, I mean, they had a partnership with the 100 Club on Oxford Street for many years. They are, as a company, obviously they're very aligned with music history
as well. Really
lovely people to work with, and that new thing they did is brilliant. I mean, it's just fantastic, and it's really what we really like about a lot of our partners is that they get us and they're kind of friends. Do you know what I mean? They're like our friends. The ones that really come along stick around for ages. Like
Fred Perry have been with us a long time, haven't they?
Yeah,
very aligned with our.
They're very aligned with the ethos, and the brand identity is very aligned with. There are some other ones out there that I'd love to kind of also bring in, because there are companies that are built on fashion and music and the alliance
Looking
between
at
those
you,
two
Doc
things.
Martens.
Well, I mean, that Doc Martens, that's fair. Vans, obviously.
Yeah, Vans.
Let's just call out all the sponsors. It's not
all
just
the shoes.
All the shoes.
But also Yamaha, they're working with us to refurbish and redistribute digital sound desks, which is massive because that's such a massive expense for venues.
Yeah, and quite often, I mean, this is a big thing we've been talking about with the grassroots levy as well. Look, people are coming out of great training and great university courses, really knowing how to use the latest equipment, and then they get to their local music venue and the equipment's 10, 15 years old, which in a digital equipment age is, I mean, it's archaic. People have never seen desks like it. So this is a really great project with Yamaha where they'll be sending refurbished desks.
It's coming out of theatres and conference halls. It's being upgraded and then placed into venues. Yeah,
exactly. And that will mean, I mean, you'd be surprised how fast the turnover is in other parts of the cultural sector. So this will be very contemporary equipment. Great to see recycling, frankly, and actually anything that brings the facilities and the services more up to date for artists and audiences, improves the sound, improves the experience of technicians and everything working in venues. Yeah, it's a really, really lovely project.
Amazing. So also wanted to talk to you about being out in the community with the George Tavern. So you are on a panel going on a panel. We'll have been on a panel by the time this goes out. So
Yeah,
with Georgia Davies from the last dinner party.
Yeah, we're recording it just before, but I mean, the George is one of those venues.
So this will be like a week after that happens.
Yeah, I think so. But we should just pause and say, look, Pauline, that it's her 21st anniversary of running the George, and there's no doubt in my mind that if it wasn't for Pauline and how committed and passionate she is about
she's an icon.
She's an absolute icon, and the way that she's done it is, I mean, remarkable. Many, many other people would have given up, faced by what Pauline's been through with developments, and just been an incredible passion that's driven her to keep that venue going for 21 years. You know, there's been Save the George campaigns. There's people that are very, very famous artists have played there, but that's not it. What it is the community space it is, and the space that it occupies in that area of London, and the way that it brings a whole community. People go there from miles around to feel part of something that Pauline has created and she stands in front of. So cheers to Pauline. I'm going to have my beer. 21 amazing years. Hopefully my panel wasn't too emotional. Which I think it probably
I'm
would
sure
be.
It will be.
Yeah, but I mean, and Georgia from Last Dinner Party is going to, and again, you know, look how cycling all this stuff is. Last Dinner Party just announced their tickets, and there's a £1 contribution to MVT on the shows they're playing in November and December, and so it is a community, and that community is built around the energy and the vibrancy and frankly the absolutely dogged perseverance of people like Pauline. And that I want to, while we're celebrating Pauline, happy 21st anniversary,
21st.
We should say this sector is full of Paulines, absolutely rammed with Paulines. It's more common to find somebody acting in that kind of shadow of the iconic status that Pauline casts than it is to find people who are not really that interested or think it's a business. There's nobody left who thinks it's a business, is there?
Well, the Met just had their 50th anniversary, which is huge.
Huge, yeah. And, you know, there are some that, I mean, look, the Horton family that have run the 100 Club on Oxford Street since 1964. I think they're on the third or fourth generation.
We're big fans. They're such lovely people.
Yeah, but I think Ruby's the fourth generation. I'm trying to work that out. But, I mean, you know, that's what these are. They're family businesses. They're incredibly driven people. I don't know where they get I don't know where Pauline gets the energy from.
I don't know where you get the energy from.
Beer, mainly. That's where I get the energy
Cheers
from.
to the George Tavern. Delicious beer from Fight Back. This is a beer that backs grassroots music venues.
The whole of that conversation, see? Drink the Fight Back beer, go and see the panel with the member of the band that's put the £1 levy on it in the venue that's being run by the kind of people we're trying to support. Can't be more circular than that, can it?
Full circle moment there. Also, like all of these venues that are so interestingly unique, the George Tavern has an amazing upstairs space, which is often hired out for films
and adverts and all kinds of things. Yeah, because everybody has to try and find ways to make their venue viable, and that's one of the ways that Pauline has found.
Incredible. Honestly, if you can go and have a look at their website, there are some really good pictures of the upstairs space for you to look at. And
it's been there since 17 something or other, I think.
And I think it's always been a community space for like 100 years.
Oh, yeah. It's
amazing.
Yeah.
It's got a great heritage. So they're going to be celebrating with 21 events across the month, from gigs to poetry and comedy, celebrating a venue that has a really unique community.
Yeah.
Amazing. So moving very quickly into the not so fun part. This is the Week in Crisis, where we talk about our venue support team and who they've been supporting. In England, a London venue needs insurance, compliance and health and safety guidance after quite a bad customer accident. And in Wales, a planning application is threatening a venue in Newport, and a Swansea venue is facing financial difficulties. And this is just the day-to-day work that we're doing here at MBT through our fantastic VST team, venue support team. Every week is a new barrel of laughs, isn't it?
Yeah, the number of cases fluctuates, but I mean, last year it was just over 200. I think it'll be even more this year, if I'm honest. Sometimes it's only like 3 new cases, and then we all kind of cheer. Other weeks it's like 10.
There was one week where we had no case.
It was
amazing.
And we all got super excited, and in the following week there were double the number of cases that there should have been.
Yeah, that was not so fun.
Everybody went on holiday for a week.
It's been a lively week with rights management. Nothing that we can specifically talk about, unfortunately, but hopefully our amazing rights management specialist, Gareth, will be doing some magic and helping this venue out, improve.
I'm just going to repeat
situation.
again. Some of this stuff does need to be in the public realm so that artists, particularly songwriters as well, members of PRS, non-members of PRS, the whole music community can understand there are solutions to this. It shouldn't. It doesn't need to be. The reason it needs to be conducted in private is because we don't have the proper system. If we had the proper system, we'd be able to discuss everything in public.
So here's hoping things change.
Yeah.
So on to campaign wins. Community Power First. The Sound Lounge in Sutton suffered a really horrific vandalism act. It will be probably a couple of weekends by the time this comes out. And the crowdfunder that they put out hit 400% of its target in just over 24 hours.
Aren't people nice?
Yeah, some people are really nice and some people are really not nice.
Human beings have got a bad rap, haven't they? But I mean, ultimately, if you give people a thing they can contribute and help to, it's amazing how many people will.
Do you want to just explain what happened briefly?
Yeah, I mean, look, there's a lot of tension on our streets, and there are different views and things, but ultimately, the Sound Lounge tried to take the view that they wanted to include everybody in the local community, whatever your views on different things that are being expressed, and they tried to be very inclusive and
to engage in conversation.
Try to make the venue somewhere that everybody would feel at home, and unfortunately, not the people they were necessarily trying to engage with, and not the people who, I might disagree with politically or whatever, but some people who are basically criminals. I think we need to not hesitate to use that.
Yeah.
Decided that was not a conversation should take place and smash the windows.
Yeah.
In the dead of night.
And it was heartbreaking, I think, for the owners who are good friends of ours as well.
Yeah. Well, and look again. We talked about Pauline. Let's talk about Hannah and Kieran. Look, they're deeply committed to their community, deeply committed to live music.
And musicians as well.
And they're musicians.
So
they're probably members of PRS. So, all these things hang together. But it is sad that somebody's attempt to be inclusive can spark such a negative reaction. I guess people who are much more politically minded than us and should really be thinking about that. What is it that people think they're gaining by smashing the windows of a community-based business that, to be clear, provides meals for people who are hungry, warm spaces for people who are cold? What are you saying when you smash the windows of a place like that?
That you don't really understand them.
You don't really understand them, or that I don't know. A lot of people were trying to cast blame one way or the other. I don't think the people who did that are twats.
Yeah.
It's just, there's no point in pretending otherwise. Like, if you did that, you're a criminal. I hope you get arrested and I hope you get prison time.
But the beautiful side of it is that the community came together.
Yeah, exactly. So again, don't let the actions of a couple of idiots tone down the fact that Sutton, where this venue is, got behind the venue, got the money they needed to fit the windows back again, and the venue reopened. So
we'll continue.
Yeah, exactly.
And just we were at the International Festival Forum recently. We did a showcase in 2 spaces with 4 artists, and the whole purpose of being there really was to talk to festivals about how they can support grassroots music venues.
Well, and also how grassroots music venues support them. Again, back to this whole thing. It's an ecosystem. Everybody's
reciprocity, my favourite word.
Yeah, what is
reciprocity.
It? I'm glad. I'll have more beer and I'll have a go at saying that. You carry on saying it though, Tony.
Thank you very much. So we're now our supporter circle's growing. Thank you very much. We're up to 238 people, and every member strengthens the safety net for venues and the work that we can do in the background. Social growth continues. So thank you so much for engaging with us, engaging with our work. And there's a multitude of ways in which you can support our work. Mark is writing a Substack every week where he's talking about the really important issues. We've got our supporter circle where you can donate £5, £10 or more, however much you feel a month. We've got our merch that you can purchase. You can go to a local venue. You can support the support band. There are so many things that you can do. If you don't have any money, you could also just share, like and subscribe our podcast, or share any of our posts online. It all helps. So thank you so much for joining us again for another episode of The Last Safe Space. We will see you next time, and support your local music scene, and let's keep the lights on.